I don't want to take any more time away from our amazing speaker today. If you guys know Erin Mehler, she has been in the business for over 11 years. She has also been our managing broker for our office for 2 years plus. She's been a coach. She's been coaching experienced agents, and she's an amazing agent herself and gone to different heights in this business and seen the transition markets. So I am welcoming Erin Mehler. Please come up. Woo! Now, ask a lot of questions, take a lot of notes, it's gonna be amazing.
I love that, like, I had no idea every manager in the company was gonna be here today for that. So, my goal is just always to make sure that you guys get value out of this and that, you know, everyone walks away with something. So I tend to jump all over the place a little bit. Just bear with me as we do that, because we'll definitely stick to that today. That's just how I roll. I wanted to start with, so we've been advertising transitioning markets on the flyer that's been floating around the office. And that's a little, it's a little bit blurry. Is there a way to adjust that? And so, also, sure, whatever. I'm just gonna be on this for just a minute. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of hard to see, but if you were at Morning Ascent today, Alex spoke about this quite a bit, kind of the shift that's happening right now in the transitional market. And one thing that he talked about that I loved is this is a correction, right? How many of you have said for the past year, we need the market to correct? It's been crazy, right? So we're all getting what we've asked for and we're all freaking out a little bit, right? Like, what does the correction mean? A correction is not a crash. It's not, it's a correction. And when's the last time that the market corrected? Does anyone know the last time the market corrected or a shift happened? March of 2020. Who remembers March of 2020? COVID hit, right? So we have the hindsight now. We can connect the dots backwards now to say, oh, that worked out okay. Like, you know, we didn't lose our jobs, right? Real estate's been really good for us the past couple of years. But when COVID hit, what was your first thought at that time?
It's over.
Right, were people nervous?
Oh, yeah.
Were you worried, like, what are we gonna do? We don't even know if we can get people in houses. How many people had to buy hand sanitizer and go to weird lengths to show houses at that time, right? Open houses were one group at a time. So that was a shift and it was a correction in the market, but the correction went a different direction than maybe what we're concerned about right now. We just never know what's going to happen. That's my point. And so we can sit and we can stress about what's going on, or we can take it as an opportunity to innovate, create, and do things a little bit different, and use it to take a minute to think about where we're headed with our business and shift our business as well. And I think that's a key point, is that when a shift or a correction is happening, you have to shift and you have to correct with it, right? Anytime you want to change anything in your life, you have to change in order to change. You guys agree? Okay, cool. So I have this little stat because Matt Barton was my broker for a very long time. You don't do a meeting without a stat if Matt's your broker, okay? This is really cool. So I had a friend send this to me yesterday, and it's talking, this is Core Logic. Is anyone familiar with Core Logic? They're like one of the premier, statisticians, or I don't know what you would say, in real estate in the country. So they've done a study and they are predicting that we are going to see a correction in some markets. But I want you to look at, if you can read it, what's predicted for Utah. So we've got this very low 0 to 20% chance that home prices will drop, all the way up to very high, over 70% chance of a dip. And look at Utah right here. This is all like Provo, Salt Lake, a very, very low chance that we are going to see price drops in Utah. We might see a little bit, but a lot, that dispels one fear right there, because this is a very reliable source, right? So that kind of takes me to one of my first points, that when you don't have answers, you can't calm the fears and the storm that's going on with your clients. The last couple of years, what have our clients had confidence in? Prices, equity. They've known what the market is doing. There have been a significant number of people who are like, I can sell my house on my own. The market is strong. I'll have 20 buyers in a weekend, right? Where's their confidence now? Yeah, where are they gonna find their confidence now? What have we been waiting for?
They need a professional.
They need a professional.
They're confused.
They're gonna find their confidence in each one of you. Okay, so what if you're not confident and they're looking for confidence in you?
You're out.
They're gonna go to the person that has the confidence and knows how to explain to them what's going on. So you've got to be knowledgeable, you've got to pay attention to what's going on, and you've got to be able to convey that to your clients, right? So just to drive this point home, I think everyone in here knows I've had a little bit of a life realignment, restructuring, I think is what George calls it, midlife crisis, I don't know, call it what you want, okay? Over the past year, but I also had one of the best years in real estate that I've ever had. So how is it that I can go through a massive life change where my focus is not really on my job at all, and I have one of the best years in real estate in my life? Why do you think that happened for me last year, Mike?
It's the whole, how you do something is how you do everything.
I really wish that was it. I wish I could take the credit for it.
If you improve in one area of your life, it all, rising tides lift all ships.
That's true. I think there's something to that, Mary.
Your mindset.
You guys are so nice to me. Jeremy,
The market.
the market. It wasn't me. It was the market. How many of you have rode this beautiful wave of the market the last year or two and had great success? And you haven't had to, certainly we've had to be better about writing offers, right? We've had to be better about navigating multiple offers if we've listed a home and being organized in how we present that to our sellers. But how many of you have found it a little bit easier the last 18 months to come across business? I did.
Yeah.
I had a great year, and I also had, for the first time ever, 2 buyers fire me last year because I was off my game. But it was a hot market, and I've been in the industry long enough and built an SOI that I could ride that wave. Now I'm not gonna be able to ride that wave, right? I've had to get my crap in order and start showing up again. Okay, so I don't need that anymore.
If you want to turn this back on.
Okay, so I want to talk about 3 principles because it all comes back to mindset, guys, right? Are you feeling that already? Like, here's a simple stat to let you know the crisis is not as big as some of us are making it out to be. How are we going to navigate this change then, right? It's all up here. Okay, so I want to give you three steps or principles to help you through as things shift a little bit. And these work. You've heard these before, but these actually work. And so if you take nothing else home today, what I really hope that you'll take home is that it's consistency that will change everything for you. Consistency. If you were to do something at 100% for 1 month and then crash and burn versus 80% for an entire year, where are you going to see more success? 80% for a year, for sure. Okay, 100% for a month and you crash and burn. So do things at a high level and do them consistently, but don't worry if you don't do it perfectly. We're not perfect, okay? So the first thing that will change everything for you right now in this shifting market and realign your business, restructure it, get you innovating and moving in a new direction is to think. It's that simple. We overcomplicate everything. I'm the #1 overcomplicator of everything in my life, and I will own it. So the #1 thing is to think. And when you set aside time to think, we do this in Morning Ascent, right? It's a principle that we have taught at this company for as long as I've been a part of this company. We read affirmations and then we sit and we open up a book and we do what? Journal, right? We open up space to think. Innovation and creativity are the #1 friend in your business that you're running. Being able to innovate and being able to create, because that will map out a vision for you. And if you don't know where you're going, you're not going anywhere. It's that simple. I really struggled with this at the beginning of the year. It's kind of a fresh start for me. I was like, okay, what do I want? I was like, I don't know what I want. I can literally decide anything. I can create whatever life I want to for myself, and I have no idea what I want. And it took some months of thinking over and over and over. in business, personally, with my kids, where do I want to go? It wasn't an easy thing to come up with, and I don't have all the answers, but I've set aside time to think and create and innovate. And I'm starting to get clear on where it is that I'm heading. But if you don't set aside time for yourself to figure that out, you don't give yourself the time that you need to come up with that vision, right? So innovating and creating and setting aside time. We do it in morning ascent for what, 5 to 10 minutes every day. I would encourage you to just incorporate that habit, do it at 80%, 5 days a week or whatever it is. Put it in your calendar, set time aside to get that done. It's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning now, and it makes a huge difference. So you can meditate, you can go for a walk, you can hike, you can exercise, you can do, a lot of people are doing breath work. I think sometimes even just laying down and taking a cat nap and giving yourself a minute to kind of recharge and then writing down your thoughts. So that's step number 2. Step number 2 is to write it down.
Should I be writing this?
I'll send you my notes. Jack. I got you. Okay. How many of you have like an actual journal that you write in? Okay. I have a journal that I write in, but my number one place that I keep my notes is in my phone. And I use the little notes app because I can search for what I'm looking for really easily. It'll take me hours to go back through old journals and find something if I'm looking for it. But if I keep it in my notes app on my phone, I've tried using some of the fancy like Microsoft, like the different platforms that they have. But for me, the little notes app is where I keep everything, and it's super easy to find it when I need it. And if I have a thought, it's easy to voice record it in there so that it just gets it in there and I don't forget it later on. Okay. So thinking and then writing it down. How many of you guys do this consistently right now? Okay, tell me, what has it done for you once you started thinking and writing things down? Share, so it's not just me telling people to do this. Yeah.
So when I started as a new agent, I took a challenge to write 20 times a day, my goal for what I wanted to do as an agent. And so, excuse me, I wrote down 20 times a day, I make $10,000 a month as an agent.
Awesome.
I wrote it for a solid month. Guess what happened by the end of that month? And so I upped it. I said, okay, let's keep going. Let's see if this is really true. It could be a coincidence. $10,000 is, not much. So I doubled it to 20,000. Guess what I was doing 2 months after I started writing? I make $20,000 a month. I was making $20,000 and so on. And I actually, right now, my kids all chose a sentence and they write it 20 times a day. And at the end of the month, we're going to look at it. My son's is, I find money everywhere I go.
I love that.
Because he's determined. It's really cute.
That works.
He's 11. Yeah, he's 11. But I can attest to the power of writing it down. There's something happens to those words when it leaves your brain and enters your pen. Something happens because your subconscious all of a sudden is like, oh, this is the person I am. If I'm writing it down, if I'm reading it, this is who I am. And you change internally, and that's where you want to see the change.
Yeah. Jack, thank you.
I stop. So in the morning, I protect my mornings. I don't get after work and all that stuff because it'll take you over. So journaling for me makes my life earnest and proactive, not reactive. Because so much stuff falls off the wayside. And we all know if in the morning you let the phone calls and the text messages take over, your day assaults you. And at the end of the day, you're freaking trying, I started my day here and I ended up 17 other items below my aspiration.
Right.
And so journaling and thinking big picture, you're no longer a slave to reactivity.
Totally. And how many of you guys have had a thought into your head while you're driving down the road or something, and you're like, this is a really good idea, and you don't write it down, and then a week later, you don't even remember what your really good idea was, right? So what if you just started collecting all of your good ideas and you didn't let them disappear? Okay, I have a story about this. So my ex-husband's grandfather we were at his house, at his grandparents' house, probably 15 years ago. I don't know when it was, but it was when somewhere in the Middle East had the Iron Dome. Do you remember this? There was like the Iron Dome, and they had like an anti-ballistic missile that was firing into the air, and incoming missiles were coming in at this Middle Eastern country. And the Iron Dome was shooting anti-ballistic missiles up that would implode the incoming missile before it could ever strike its target. Okay. So we're just sitting in their living room watching the news, and Myron was his name, in his 80s at the time, sitting in his little like maroon rocking lazy boy recliner, very casually says, "Oh, the anti-ballistic missile. I thought of that in a dream, and I have the patent for it." And we're like, "What? Like, what are you talking about, you know?" And he explains to us that in the 70s, he worked for an aerodynamic engineering firm, and he was sleeping one night, and he had a dream about this anti-ballistic missile, and he woke up and he pulled out his journal that he kept next to his bed, and he drew it out and he wrote it down. And the next day he went into work, and they got to work on it. And in the 70s, this patent was created for the anti-ballistic missile. His name is on it. Seen it, I've held it in my hands. And however many years later, 30 years later, we're watching TV, and this invention that he came up with in a dream is saving lives in the Middle East because he wrote it down. So if you think your ideas are meaningless, they are not meaningless, okay? Write that stuff down. Trying to control my language today. Okay, here's another fun little story. And this takes us to our third principle. So our third principle is to act. So you're gonna take time to think. You're gonna write it down. No more having ideas and letting them fly out the window or disappear. Write every idea down, put it in your notes in your phone, hang on to it. You can go back and look at them sometime on vacation, or that way when you think, what was that idea that I had the other day? You can go back and you can find it again, right? So the third principle is to act. This is just a fun story. It has no meaning, but I thought it was pretty cool. So my grandfather, it's all about grandpas today, right? My grandfather, in his retirement years, he used to make these little wooden hummingbirds with these wings that would like spin in the wind. It was like a little windmill, and he would hand paint them, and he would write little handwritten notes on them and give them out as gifts to friends and family. And so I have a couple of them. I have, you know, they were birthday presents that he would send in the mail, and everyone in our family has this collection of these cute little hummingbirds. Well, when he passed away, I was out in his garage after. He spent a lot of time. He had like a man cave in his garage with a little TV, and he had carpet on the floor and had like built this little section off. And so I was out in his man cave just looking at some of his unfinished projects, and I found a hummingbird that he had made for one of his like lifelong idols, Arnold Palmer. And so I find this little hummingbird that he had hand painted, and he had written a note on it that said like, to the #1 big alpha popper or something. If you're a golfer, you'll probably know what that, I don't know what it means, but I saw it, and my uncle came out into the garage, and I was like, "Hey, we should send this to Arnold Palmer. Like, this is his, it belongs to him." Like, you know, so he said, "Well, here's how you find it." He gave me his address. I don't know how my uncle knew it, but he's like a golf pro, and he knew where to send it to. So he gave me his address, and I went home, and I wrote Arnold Palmer this nice letter about my grandpa that had made him this bird and just passed away. And I mailed it off to him, and I didn't think anything else of it. And not even a month later, I got a letter back from him just saying thank you. He's like, "This means more to me than you know, because my late wife Winnie loved hummingbirds. And so I'm going to hang this in my club room and for everyone to enjoy." And if you Google, do this after this meeting, Google Arnold Palmer club room, and then zoom back by all the basketballs and the footballs, you'll see this hummingbird that my grandpa made for Arnold Palmer hanging from the ceiling in his club room. And this summer, I want to take a trip to actually go see that in person. So does that mean anything? No, but it's a cool story for me and my family. And it's kind of fun that it's now hanging in his museum, this little thing that my grandpa made, you know. So act. When you guys have these ideas, it doesn't matter if they're big or small, just act on them. You never know what's going to happen or what will come from it. Just like Myron acted on writing down his little idea of the anti-ballistic missile in the 70s, and 30 years later, it came to fruition. Okay. So, okay, those are the 3 principles, and I just want to tell you a couple other things. How much time do I have? Oh, I have so much time, you guys, so you're gonna have to get involved in this with me. Okay, so I knew coming here today that I was gonna ask you guys to step up in some areas of your life and challenge yourselves a little bit more. I have this friend, Brad, who has this idea of getting uncomfortable every single day. He wants to get uncomfortable every single day. And so I've been thinking about this because my life has gotten a little uncomfortable at times over the past couple of years. And I can look back at it and realize the growth that I've experienced and the changes that I've been able to make because I've been willing to get a little uncomfortable. So this morning I got really uncomfortable because I knew I was going to challenge you guys to get uncomfortable. I thought I can't do it if I don't do this myself. So I got up at 4:30, never get up at 4:30. I get up at like 5:30 or 6. I went to the gym early. I told Alex that I would meet him here at 7. I got here at 7:15, which was still a win for me, 80%, right? Not 100%, 80%. That's all we have to do. I did my journaling. I wrote this all down and I can't remember now, but oh yeah. Oh, here's the big one. So I did the gym. I got here by 7 a.m. I realized that I could do this all summer this morning. My kids are out of school now, and I'm like, I could do this at least 3 or 4 days a week. I could get to the office at 7 and have extra time to get things done at work. But here's the big one. For like a year, ice plunges and cold showers have been a really big thing, right? And I hate being cold more than anything on the planet. I hate being cold. I just can't stand it because it takes my body a really long time to warm up, and like my bones will be like ice cubes and I can't warm up. So I've been waiting for it to warm up before I try this challenge of cold showers. And I didn't really get it. Has anyone done ice plunges or cold showers? Okay, when you were first starting this, did you get the whole point? Or were you just like, well, other people are doing it, so I might as well try it? Yeah. Yeah, but like, I didn't get the point that there was like power behind it. Do you get what I'm saying? I didn't understand how there was power behind doing this thing that would make me so uncomfortable. So last week I went to a mastermind, and part of this mastermind was we had to break an arrow on our neck. Have you seen that online before? It looks super scary. It's like a practice arrow for archery, but it's really soft wood. It's actually not that difficult at all. But they paint this picture of it being really scary. Like they read you the disclaimer that you have to, the waiver you have to sign, and paint this picture of it being this really scary thing. And I was like, do you know how much money I spend on skincare? Like, this neck is not getting any younger. I don't need to damage it. Just all this dumb stuff. Like, I don't want to break an arrow on my neck. But in order to get you past the fear, they create all this fear. And then in order to get you past the fear, they have you write down an arrow with a limiting belief, something that you want to overcome, right? And we wrote down this little thing that we wanted to work on and break through. And then they have someone holding the back of the arrow like this. And then you literally put the arrow in the soft portion of your neck right here. And then you just like amp yourself up and charge into it, and it snaps in half. It wasn't that bad. It sounds awful, right? But that's the whole point, is it wasn't that bad. It just sounded really, really awful when they were explaining it to us. And so I had to get in this state, and everyone doing this had to get in a state where it was like, I'm no longer going to limit myself. I'm no longer going to limit myself. And you're yelling like, I will no longer limit myself. And then you just charge into it. And it clicked when I did this. And it was like, I never would have done it if I wasn't in this environment. It clicked. I was like, oh, that's how you take a cold shower. I'm going to try this now, right? Because before I'd been like, maybe I'll turn it cold, and I'd start to, no, that's an awful idea. I'm not going to do that. That's for other people. That is not for me, right? But I constantly, this goes on all the time, that I have like anxiety or something is weighing on me, or I call it the squirrel in my head that like likes to run circles around the same topic over and over and over. It won't leave me alone. And so I've been trying to figure out a way to cope with this, right? So last week in my shower, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I thought of something that had been weighing on my head that I wanted to get out, that I didn't want to limit me or stop me from accomplishing what I needed to that day. And I just got all amped up like, okay, And then I just cranked it and I stood there and I'm like, this sucks, but I am in control. And I stood there for like 30 seconds and just let this cold water pour all over me and owned it. And I was like, okay, it's not comfortable. It is not comfortable, right? But I can do it because I put enough emotion into it that I wanted to be stronger than that emotion, right? This is a really powerful tool. I did it again this morning, so I could come here today and tell you that I've done it twice now. I took a negative emotion that had been weighing me down and I took control over it, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, I encourage you to try it. If I can do it, anyone in this room can do it. And that's kind of the theme for everything in my life. I'm not special at all. Like, there is nothing about me that sets me apart from you. Nothing. And I want you to really believe that. If you've known me long enough, you've seen me completely transform my life in the last 18 to 24 months. I'm a different person in many, many ways than I was 2 years ago, right? There's nothing about me that's different than you guys. I just started listening to things that I had been being told for like 9 years and trying to figure them out, made a choice. And it really is that simple, that you can make a choice and you can change anything. In order to change something, you have to change some things. So think about this right now. What is it in your life right now that stands out the most to you that you would like to change? Just think about this for a second. Write it down if you're taking notes.
You repeat it?
Yeah.
What is something in your life? And I want this to be like a blaringly obvious, something that's in your, it's the squirrel in my brain that I think about all the time. It's, you don't want that thought to be in your head anymore, or this topic to be weighing you down, and you want to change an action in your life. You want to change a result that you're getting in your life somehow. What is the thing that you need to change right now that would have the biggest impact on everything in your life? Okay, who's willing to share? What's something that someone is willing to share they want to change in their life? Morgan.
I think physical activity, because I realized my first thought was like motivation, like I need to change my motivation. Where do I find it? And then I realized, well, if I can get my body in motion, and then I can kind of carry off that energy and piggyback off of it, and then everything else will follow. So I realized I need to change my physical activity and my exercise levels.
How many of you follow Mel Robbins or have read her books in here? The 5-second rule or the high five habit? Motivation is garbage, right? If you're waiting to be motivated to do something, it is not coming. Sorry to burst your bubble. Motivation is not going to drive you to change, you guys. Jack.
There is a fantastic quote. It says, motivation is the result of action. It is not the cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Morgan, so thank you, Jack. What kind of activity do you want to incorporate into your life?
I think starting my day off with like a walk around my neighborhood.
Think?
No. I want to start my day.
You want to start your day?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I'm going to start my day and I'm going to begin the habit tomorrow morning when I wake up of walking my neighborhood every morning to
Okay.
get myself started.
Okay, good job. She's going to, because she knows I'm gonna follow up with her and make sure that she will. So, okay,
If you're morning set, you already heard this, but it goes because it just really, really resonates with me. Is don't, because I'm sure you're gonna wake up and you're just gonna feel it. Is don't let comfort get in the way of you becoming the person that you know that you can become. And you know, you just said it. You know, you have to wake up. You know something to do, but don't let comfort get in the way of that.
right.
I think you're there too. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk about that later.
It's so true. You have to get uncomfortable, right? So I like to trick myself to execute these habits and this is what it is. It's like habits. What habits do you need to change? Do you have a habit of hitting the snooze button? What's your new habit going to be instead of hitting the snooze button, right? When I changed my habits with my health, and started getting up at 6 or 5:30 in the morning. I've never been a morning person. I've always been like a night owl my whole life, but I changed that. Mel Robbins uses the 5-4-3-2-1. That's her little trick to get herself to jump out of bed when she needs to get up and go take care of what she needs to take care of. This is my trick to get myself to keep my habit. I wake up and I want to go back to sleep every single morning. I want to go back to sleep. No different than you guys, right? I don't want to get out of bed. But every single morning I wake up and I think, it's okay, you're gonna go take pre-workout. Just go get your pre-workout in your body and you'll be awake in 15 minutes. And that's my trick, that's my thought, and it works for me. You have to figure out what works for you, right? For years, I had tried to exercise doing cardio, running, and I'd signed up for 3 different half marathons in my life, and I never ran any one of them because I wasn't in shape to run a half marathon when I signed up for the half marathons. And I thought, well, if I just pay for it, that will be motivation enough to get me to run it, but it wasn't. When I started exercising, I found that I hate running. It's not fun for me. I'll do it every once in a while for stress relief because I want to, but not because I have to. What I really enjoyed was lifting weights. I found a lot of joy in lifting weights. I found a lot of joy when I was going through something really difficult and proving to myself how strong I am. That was the drive for me, and it wasn't running. So I just really developed this love for lifting weights and getting really strong, but it's still hard to get out of bed in the morning. And if I don't do it in the morning, I won't do it. That's just the reality of my life. I have kids at home. I have business that I'm running. If I don't get up early and do it early, it's not going to happen. And so I had to come up with tricks and ways to make sure that I get up and do it. Yesterday, I didn't go to the gym yesterday, and I left work early because I was stressed out and had anxiety, and I went and took care of myself if I had to, for my own mental health, right? Okay, so some other tips and tricks. Rome wasn't built in a day. I think Alex said this to me last week on the phone, and I wrote it down for this. It's persistence, right? We have this, I think social media has painted this picture that we have to be perfect in everything that we do. Does anyone feel that? Mm-hmm. How many of you think, oh, Erin Mehler is going to be speaking. She's so awesome. She has all her crap together. I'm going to go listen to her because she's going to give me the secrets and the tools for success that I don't know. How many of you think that, right? It's not true. My favorite thing is when Mackenzie is bringing a new recruit through the office and she's like, oh, this is Erin Mehler. She's a rock star. And I'm like, correcto. I look great on the outside, but it's a hot mess behind the scenes. If you know the truth, right? It is not perfect. My life is chaos. It's crazy. So I have to incorporate different things to bring calm to the storm. And it doesn't happen in a day. It's taken me 26 months now to lose close to 70 pounds. What if I would have quit after the first month? Right? I do everything at 80%. I'm fine being a B student. I'm fine if my kids get straight Bs. I don't care. They just have to pass school, right? Is that the mentality that we have? A lot of the time, no. Everyone's like, you have to be straight A's. You have to be perfect. You have to get everything right or you're failing, and it's garbage. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You have to learn to give yourself grace. You have to learn to forgive yourself when you're not perfect, and to be okay not being perfect, and to be okay not caring if other people think you're not perfect. If you are still stuck in the cycle of caring about what other people think about you, right here, right now, please just let it go. Do you know why people say negative things about other people? Yeah. And if they admit that you can go do something hard that they can't do, what does that say about them? Right? Okay, so where's Alma? Alma, he's ducking. Alma, I have to confess something to you. Because I learned something about myself a couple weeks ago, and you were a part of this, if you don't know this. So I was talking to Morgan, and we were talking about what a badass for sale by owner listing agent you are, and how you just beat everyone all the time, and it's super annoying.
Except for me, I just got a for sale by owner over you.
At the next summit, it's going to be Alma versus Morgan next time. So.
Didn't smoke me on that one.
Okay, so we were talking about this, and it came up that you had been at an open house talking to these FISBO people, and I immediately was like, he still goes to open houses and prospects to FISBOs, like, he's Alma Merrill, doesn't he have better things to do? And the next Saturday, I hosted an open house for a seller, so it's the same thing, right? But what it made me realize, and I think I was talking to George about this, and I was telling him what I had realized when that's where my brain went. It was to be like, really, Alma, you're going? And then I thought, oh my gosh, why am I judging Alma for that? He's an amazing agent. Like, he excels at this extremely high level. He would trash me every time in prospecting. I am not good at prospecting in the way that you are. But it made me stop and think, what am I insecure about? What am I comparing myself to Alma about? What am I comparing myself to him for? And I took it as an opportunity when I realized this is my friend who I admire and I think is so wonderful. Why would I have that thought about him or think to bring him down a notch to make myself feel better? Do you guys see what I'm talking about? So we do it to each other all the time. Was that a reflection of Alma at all? My judgment of him or my picking at him? No. Alma's amazing at what he does. You do? He's never picked on me a day in his life. He's too nice for that, right? But that's what I would encourage you to do is start looking at yourself honestly. Like, get in front of a mirror and tell yourself the epic truth about yourself. What are you not seeing about yourself that would unlock everything for you and change everything for you? Why are you limiting yourself? You don't need to. You're doing it to yourself. Stop. Stop worrying about what other people say about you. They are just trying to make themselves feel better. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? If
Which
you're,
house was that?
I don't even know.
No,
I think you got it though. I
I
think you
did, I
did
got
get that one. So,
free.
but you helped me learn something about myself. So thank you, Alma. And thank you for, I know that I can say that to you in front of you and you're confident enough in who you are that I can admit that to you. So, Jeremy, I coached Jeremy, new agent right here. And Jeremy's a new agent. And one of the things that I wish I could help my new agents really understand is that you're comparing yourself to people who have been doing this a really long time. If you had compared yourself to me when I was a brand new agent also, you are working 10 times harder than I did as a brand new agent. I can guarantee you that. So stop comparing yourselves to other people and start comparing yourself to you and thinking about what you can do to improve yourself and move yourself forward, okay? Someone have a comment back here? Saw a hand, I think. Yeah, Lou.
I just want to say thank you for sharing that because what you said was so correct. When I was on the trip to Hawaii, and I was talking with other agents, and they said I was trying to like kind of compare myself to them and all the production. I'm like, wow, you guys have done so well, you know, compared to what I have done for the last 2 years because I never was in the office for the last 2 years. I was sidetracked.
Mhm.
But after that trip, and I was like, no, you did other stuff. Like you did real estate, but in other fall.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I after that, I feel much better by not compare myself because each of us are like we're in a different level. You know,
Absolutely.
and when you do that, you actually don't go, you're always like in a competition with someone. And then after that trip, I realized that no, I shouldn't be in a competition with someone. I should have improved my skill set, my mindset, so I can get to a different level.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing.
Well, I genuinely believe that each person is here with a specific person or purpose unique to them. I genuinely believe that. I believe that Alan has to be here and dress the way that he dresses, which is so amazing, and smile the way that he smiles and shine the way that he shines and tease people the way that he teases people. He's a master at it, right?
Yeah.
To accomplish what he needs to accomplish. And I'm here to accomplish what I'm supposed to accomplish in business, as a mother, as a friend, in every capacity of my life. How can I do that if I'm Morgan? I can't. So why would I compete with her? You can't. Be yourself. Own it and love it.
That's like another thing too, is that everybody has different gifts and talents. How are you implementing those gifts and talents into your business? Because those are the reason why your clients are connecting with you. Those are the reason why people are choosing you. And once you recognize them and you start working in those gifts and talents, like you'll start to see it unfold and you'll start to see things become more easier for you because you're recognizing what you're working in.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. One of the assignments I gave Lourdes this last week was to write down what her ideal client was, so that we could start attracting her ideal client to her in business. So she could work with the type of person, you know, most of the time, 80% of the time, that brings her a lot of joy and fulfillment in her business. And if you haven't done this before, I would encourage you that when you stop and think and write, to think about who is my ideal client. I have ideal clients. I know who I like working with. I like to have a lot of fun in every area of my life, and I like to have fun with my clients. So I try to attract fun clients, and then I ask them to send me their awesome friends. That's the majority of the people I work with. I really, truly enjoy working with. And there are a few clients that I don't necessarily enjoy working with. I referred one to Alex in St. George, and he's working with him right now. Yeah, we were having a conversation about him yesterday, because he's a tough cookie. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm not listing this property in St. George right now, and Alex gets to deal with it, because he's not one of my favorite people to work with, and that's okay, right? But there are people that would probably thrive working with him and other people. So that's exactly right. Like, you have to own who you are and build your life around who you are. Okay? Nikki, did you have something too? I kind of skipped over you, but I saw your hand pop up.
I did.
Okay, no worries. Okay.
I'm sure it's very important.
Okay,
Right.
if you think that, let me know. I'm so lost in my notes. I have no idea where we're at.
Oh, I remember now.
Okay, go for it.
One of the things is your past doesn't define who you want to be in the future or who you are now. So that's one of the things as you go through life, everybody has shit that happens. And as you go through life, in your life experiences, you know, and I have a team of all different ages, and I have to remember myself that when, you know, someone's going through a life experience, and I'm sitting there going, oh, really, sister, that's really bad. I didn't start this morning. I have to remember that as you get older, you experience harder things that teach you whether you're going to be a victim or a victor to it. And it doesn't define who you are today. You can change that.
I love that so much, Nikki. And that just reminds me of like one of the critical parts of this. I'm like, you know, stop caring what other people think about you. But there's also this element of not caring about how you used to think about yourself. If you've been a person that beats yourself up and never gives yourself grace, and you can never accept who you are or love yourself for who you are, part of that is saying, you know what, here's the line in the sand, and you're gonna stay back there. Thank you for how far you brought me, but you are gonna love who you are now. You're gonna accept who you are now. You're gonna welcome everything that's meant for you in your life right now. And that person who didn't do that gets to stay in the past. And you know what? Maybe you didn't love yourself the way that you should have. Maybe you listened to all the crap other people had to say and used it against yourself. But I'm just going to have love for you now. I'm going to let you stay there, and then I'm going to move on and accept what is meant for me in my life, right? Freaking cold shower right there. Own that, right? Okay, so how does this parlay back into real estate and a market that's changing right now, right? It's an opportunity to change everything, is it not? Mindset, right? We talk about it all the time, but how often do we break it down into these simple steps? Okay, so who is going to leave today feeling a little bit more dedicated to, okay, we know that home prices aren't expected to drop. I think that's one of the overlying fears. We know interest rates and maybe the number of homes being sold is going to drop a little bit. Inventory is going up. Who is afraid of that in this room? Be honest if you're afraid of what's happening. Lourdes, you're a little bit nervous about what's happening. Okay. Why are you nervous about it?
Well, maybe because I haven't been that active with the real estate, because I've been doing my other side, which is my interior design. But now, as soon as I start coaching with you and be able to start focusing more on what really the direction I want to be, what I want to pay for many clients I want to, work with. I think the fear that I used to have, it's coming kind of like being more confident about what I believe. And the more I be more input with all the coaches and the base camps and Zoom, what is it?
Right.
Things that we have here, I think I start seeing that this confidence I used to have a few years ago when I started here, because I was like a piece of gun with John Syed and George. I mean, these two, they were like, right there next to me all the time. And I tell you, when I got that, I had so much confidence. And I remember buying a couple cars
Yeah.
just because, and the payment was very strong, but I come up probably with $100,000, a couple cars. And I said, I'm signing this, that's fine. And they already paid off. So it's just the confidence that you have that you can do something.
Okay.
And that's what I want to gain back.
So let's talk about that for a second, confidence, right? Because that's a really good point. If you don't have confidence, and we talked about this at the beginning, how can you go in and be that confidence for your clients, right? Confidence is earned by consistency, you guys. That is how you become confident in anything, is you are consistent in it. So if you need to know more about the market so that you can confidently walk in to a listing presentation and speak confidently to your seller, put more effort into how you're consistently preparing for your listing presentation. And I'll give you an example. This was several years ago. I went to a listing presentation. It was a friend. I knew him pretty well. I didn't prepare that much because I knew him. I knew I was going to get the listing. But we sat down and I had a couple comps and they started talking to me about other homes that had sold in their neighborhood. And I had no clue what they were talking about. I was like on my phone, like, oh, let me look at that. And I felt really stupid because I was like, here they are hiring me to be the expert for them. And they know more about what has sold in their neighborhood than I do. Never again. And I created a consistency in how I prepped for listing presentations from that day forward, that I would spend no less than an hour preparing for a listing presentation, so that when I went into that listing presentation, I knew more than the seller. Now, over time, that has gone down. I don't spend that time prepping for every listing presentation anymore, but certainly there are some where I would put that much time into it because I developed a consistent habit of what I was going to do to show up as the expert for my clients that they expect me to be, right? I market myself to be this really knowledgeable agent that's going to take you through all the steps and have your back, and I show up confident. I have to also be confident in what I'm talking to them about, right? So confidence, the huge part. Anyone else have any examples, Liz?
I'm actually excited about the market more than I'm afraid, because like Vicky and I was talking about the other day, I believe this is the market where you see the really best become the very best.
100%.
And then you will see that a lot of agents will make a fortune. And I'm excited. I've been actually wanted this market to be like this. So when you have a lot of cash, that's where you will go out and you will buy a lot of property and you will be well off.
Right.
In the next 10 years. So I am more excited. I want the market to go down. I want more listing the price to go down. I want more listing in the market so I can go out and get more listing. And I want to pick up more deal. And there's a lot of agents moving out of the business.
Right. And you guys are aligned with the right company to be able to go out and dominate this market right now, right? Does anyone know the stats from before 2007 of how many agents there were versus how many there were in 2009? I don't know what the
We
stats
went
are.
from like 16,000 agents down to like 6,000 agents.
Right. So if we had, how many agents do we have right now? Do you know? 28,000.
8,000.
So if we drop like 18,000 of those agents right now, because people are scared out of their mind, would anyone have a problem with that? No. No. You can do more business in this market than you've ever done before in your life. That's it. Level up, right? Use this energy to level yourself up and just create whatever you want to create for yourself. Go do it. You're the only one stopping yourself. Stop stopping yourself and go do it.
That's it. That's all I have, you guys.
Guys,